Isn't it funny how we put up barriers to the things that we want to do? I've taken like a 3-week break from creating these videos. I was doing daily reflections for some time, almost about 60 daily videos. And then I had taken a pause. And in that time, I was like upgrading my setup, cleaning up the room, cleaning up this office. I'll probably post somewhere, maybe on Instagram, like some before and after pictures of my desk. I might not even do that just because that would be another barrier that I would be putting up. So then I took some time off, I think because I had cleaned up this space and started cleaning up my setup. I had put lights, you can see some of the lights back there, to really try and make this process of creating content as easy as possible. It kind of got a little bit complicated. I had a simple setup, like I have that light there, I have these LEDs, and then I got this really cool director's chair that I don't think you could really see. It's just right over there from my friend Ernie. And I was like, I'm going to film in this chair. And it's like, it's just this barrier that I wanted to put out, but I thought that it would be fun to do. And, like I got my cat Butter over here who's trying to get out. So why don't you go out? And as I'm making these videos, wanting to show up in a certain way, it's like there were all of these things that I thought that I had to do to continue doing what I was already doing. So then in that time away, I think I'm still in this place of like, okay, like how do I want this to show up? I'm at number 74. So this is the 74th reflection in this journey of creating Haizhen. And it's been a ride. The last number of weeks, so many things have happened. I gave a brief update yesterday just to kind of get back rolling. I filmed yesterday's video on my front-facing camera of my phone, and I had that realization that I just stopped doing the thing. I made some TikToks and I started getting responses from there. I started getting engagement from people, real people. And I was like, was it always this easy? Like just to turn on the camera and speak truthfully, to speak authentically, whatever that means. That's always been kind of this challenge I've experienced, especially when starting to make content. I thought that I had to show up in a very certain way and be like, hello, welcome. Today on this episode, that's like some of my favorite programs to watch are like those kind of talking head shows where they talk about different things, either movies or video games or whatever. And ultimately, like these things are reflections, 3 months or so, thereabouts, in all of the process that I've taken. Probably at the end of this, what would be really interesting is to go back and look at, starting from the beginning, to see what happened over this period of time. A lot has happened, right? Like, I'm just going to spend some time today reflecting. So this is going to be pure reflection. But the message really is to do something. Do something, do anything. Once you start that action and you start the ball rolling, then things can happen. More things can happen. But you don't know what's next until you do what's next. I want to help people. I want to help people help other people. I really care about helping others help others because I feel like that's one way that I can expand my reach. When I'm working in my healthcare work, I was working on the front lines. I was operating a pharmacy and I had staff that was working with me. And of course I had patients. I had a roster of patients. I had, a small group in the community. And it was rewarding work because I could see the help and the benefit for the people that I served. There got to be a point where I realized that my reach would be limited and I would be better served teaching or helping others help other people. I realized that when even early on, I became a pharmacy manager after a couple of years of working, and I had the opportunity to coach different staff and students. I had some students of my own, and that was almost a process of just teaching others how to either do what I do or practice, serve people in the best way that they can. I think if I'm thinking about it now, previously I would have taught people to do things the way that I do them. And if it kind of didn't work out that way, I would have maybe a lot of thoughts of maybe you can adjust this way. What I've come to realize is that everybody does things in their own way. So now when I'm teaching other people, it's really to give them information and then ask them how they would do it and see how they would use it. Because ultimately, anything that happens outside of me is not my responsibility directly. If I teach you something to help another person, you're going to take that and make it your own. I know that that was a bit of a struggle for me when I first trained in hypnosis, because I learned from a great teacher, Mike Mandel and Chris Thompson, and they had so many protocols. And what I really loved about their training was the focus on principles first, and then applying the principles into the different techniques. One of the most impactful stories that I remember from that training was when Mike was recounting his NLP training with, I think it was Derek Balmer. And at the end of that NLP training, the work was to have a potential problem, and usually with a problem, there's a specific technique that you would use. So then at the end of the training, one of the last things that they would do is they would go up, and it's like, this person has a problem with anxiety. Now use the anxiety technique. Cool. Now next person come up, use a different technique. Another person come up, use a different technique. So then now you start running out of like that anxiety specific technique. And I think my lesson from there was that all the techniques work for all of the different things. It's just a matter of understanding the principles underneath them. So because we're all humans, whatever that word means, we all have shared characteristics and we all kind of operate on a similar level, right? We have, like, from a science perspective, brains, nervous systems, all of these things that are connecting. And because we have at least that commonality, then a lot of those things function similarly. Our brains and minds work generally the same. We all have a conscious mind. We all have an unconscious mind, or subconscious, depending on your kind of school and the vernacular that you would use. And when you understand that at the base, we are all one, we're all part of this one system. Again, it's like that Hermetic axiom of as above, so below, as within, so without. The world that we see outside of us is a reflection of our own internal states. So understanding that, you can then look at other people and understand how they are seeing the world from the way that they express themselves or the way that they comment. In a way, people are always telling on themselves. They're saying exactly what they think and believe and feel. Like, how they act is how they will manifest. There's no judgment here. Ultimately, it's kind of where you're coming from. When you dial all that back, it becomes really understanding what the polarities are, like what the two sides of the scale often are, because everything is dual in this world. It maybe can't be solved because we're talking about like dual systems. So ultimately, what happens is understanding, I guess the question that I would ask other people, what do you want? When you know what you want, then you know what you're moving towards. But speaking specifically about polarities and dualities, understanding whether a person is operating from a place of lack or a place of abundance. Previously, I would have said from a place of fear or love or kindness. But those words are like really charged, and like you think of like fear, and there's so many possible definitions of it. And then you think about love, and there's all these different definitions of it, especially like, you could talk about romantic love, platonic love, the love of a parent for a child and a child for a parent, all of these different things. So distilling it down or looking at it from the frame of lack or abundance, is there something missing? If there's something missing, if you feel like there's something missing, that's a kind of contracted, constricted, it's a fearful state. You want to hold on to things and hold on as tightly as you can. If you are truly abundant, that means you have limitless resources. Like, abundance is everything. There's nothing that you lack. So then if there's nothing that I lack, it's like finally touching on that idea of you as an infinite being. If you are infinite, giving away a small piece of you is not a big thing. I think what happens is there's this illusion of scarcity and lack. It makes me think of kind of, I guess, like diversity, equity, inclusion, like all of those, that kind of like bucket of things. And it makes me think of the concept of space, where seeing like a minority successful or a woman successful or somebody who's not kind of like the standard in Western culture successful, it like somebody who's operating from a place of lack may look at that and say, they're taking my spot. And people probably do say that. But maybe that wasn't your spot. If somebody else has it, it's literally not your spot. You are exactly where you need to be. So if you can understand that you're where you need to be, you have your own abundance, and go forge your own path, then that becomes very powerful. And that's one of the realizations, like one of the big understandings that I've gotten in these last couple of months is I felt like I was looking outside, waiting for someone to give me something that I was missing. Like, oh, hey, here's some recognition for you. Or I'm going to say that you are ready to do this or ready to do that. Whatever this and that is. Even when I was working with my coaches, there was an element of feeling like I was in a position of like, okay, tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. Tell me what to do. And I ultimately came to the realization that I need to be the one to tell me what to do, because they're not me. They're living their own lives. They're having their own experiences. They could tell me what to do, but it might not be what I need to do in the moment. And sometimes, in fact, like when I get told what to do, I just can be a little bit oppositional. I'll say that that's a natural manifestation of my 5-line heretic energy in human design, just as a way of understanding. And it's not to say that it's an excuse for that. It's just to understand that operation so that when it comes up, I can decide whether or not I want to. It's something that, first of all, I need to make a choice about. Like, is this going to be problematic if I don't listen or follow along these instructions? Through human design, understanding what your design is not putting you in a box. It's actually giving you insight and freedom to express yourself truly. One of my favorite parts of my design, and it's probably my favorite because it's in my conscious sun and earth, is the 4323 channel of structuring. And this channel is to take insights and like that other people may not see, and then to be able to put them out into the world. Sometimes initially the thoughts or ideas that I might have, because they're mine, they don't seem that out there. More often what I remember experiencing was just being ignored. Either like the point not landing or people just not understanding and just kind of moving on. And that's the one thing that I've come to stand is like the nature of that energetic operation. So now with an invitation in to express those insights, they've really landed much differently. So just like if you are actually listening all the way through this video, you had a choice of how far you wanted to go in. You could hit pause, you could close this off at any moment. And because you're here continuing to listen, this is my invitation to share with you. In person with people, there's like this operation of like, I need to wait. But now I can just put myself out there, and then it's up to other people whether or not they want to listen, follow, subscribe, like the video, comment down below. It's completely up to you. And if it resonates, if it's helpful for you, then that's kind of where all of these insights are coming through. And that's the purpose. That's how I'm here to serve. That is what was on my mind just now. This whole process has been a lot of fun, and it continues to be. I'm putting together more and more structure to my business, and I'm finding ways of communicating this out. I was thinking about putting together something called a helpers guild, which is bringing people helpers together to help each other help more people better. And then even like helpers guild, like part of that feels like, I think it's kind of nice, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, is this a little bit too businessy? That's why kind of like guild is a nice vibe. And then Christian said in one of her TikToks talking about this, that it's like, hey, we're business besties. And I'm like, oh, business besties, that sounds kind of nice. And it's a lot more relaxed. And then it's like, who cares if it's not professional, right? I think professionalism is like code for fall in line in some ways. Like ultimately there's a level of work where you're just being decent humans to one another. But when we get into a point of like uniforms for no reason, having to speak in certain ways for no reason, then it becomes more of a cage than anything else. So anyways, this was what it was. I'm getting back closer to the previous production. I think if you go just back through the list of videos in these logs, you'll see that it kind of, the production, like if you have a minute, just go and take a look at the thumbnails of all the different videos. And you'll see that at the beginning, they were kind of like rough. It was just like kind of in my office or just outside somewhere. And then I started to put a little bit more production in it. I had my lights and all of this, I cleaned up the office. And then you'll see that it just went completely to like no video and just like a random audio that I had recorded sitting on my porch in the middle of a rainstorm, probably at like 12 a.m. And then now I'm starting to come back out of it. So just like things cycle, there's always ups and downs. We'll see you again. It's nice to have you here. Thanks for your cooperation.